Spaces.
You ever notice how the songs we grew up with sometimes carried more than just a catchy hook? Back in the 70's, the radio wasn't just soundtracking our lives, it was sparking rumors, debates, and late-night conversations about what those lyrics really meant.
And she's buying a stairway to heaven.
Were we hearing hidden messages, secret muses, or maybe something even darker? Well, grab your headphones and let's rewind the dial, because these are some of the most talked about hidden messages tucked inside the hits of our youth. Don McLean, American Pie, 1971.
We started singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy.
Do you remember the first time you heard American Pie? I sure do. It felt less like a pop song and more like somebody opened a scrapbook of American music history right there on the radio. It was long, winding, and packed with lyrics that sounded like riddles, and you could not help but just kind of lean in. When McLean sang about the day the music died, yes, we all knew he was pointing to Buddy Holly's tragic plane crash. And man, I mean, that line could stop you cold.
Today, the music died.
And we've actually got an entire video about that, breaking down everything as it unfolded, so definitely check that one out next. The rest of the song's verses were like a puzzle we could never quite finish. The jester, the king, the marching band. Now everyone had a theory, and half the fun was arguing with your friends about who was who. You remember sitting around your buddy's kitchen table, coffee mugs in hand, going line by line like you were cracking some secret code. And Don McLean never gave us a straight answer either, which only kept the mystery alive.
Oh, boys, drinking whiskey and rye, saying this will be the day that I die.
But what really gets me about this song is how it blends nostalgia with a sense of loss. It makes you think about sock hops, drive-ins, and the joy of discovering music when the world felt a little more innocent. And then it turns around and reminds you how quickly all that changed as the 60s rolled in with upheaval and revolution. Queen, Another One Bites the Dust, 1980.
Another one gone, another one gone, another one bites the dust.
Now here's one that really stirred the pot back in the day. Another One Bites the Dust already had that funky, irresistible groove that made it a dance floor magnet. But then folks started playing the record backwards. And suddenly there were people swearing they could hear Freddie Mercury singing, "It's fun to smoke marijuana."
No one.
Of course, Queen never admitted to planting anything in there, and most sound engineers will tell you it was nothing but coincidence. But still, at the time, the whole backmasking scare had parents worrying and kids spinning vinyl like amateur detectives and pro DJs. You have to admit though, the rumor gave the song this extra edge, like you were in on some kind of musical secret.
Another one, another one, another one, another fighting.
But the bass line thumped on either way, keeping it one of Queen's biggest crossover hits. Looking back, I think the hysteria says more about the times than the song itself. We were smack in the middle of people worrying about subliminal messages, rock and roll corrupting the youth, and the whole satanic panic creeping in. To most of us though, it just kind of felt like a fun myth to share while you were blasting Queen in your car with the windows down. Carly Simon, You're So Vain, 1972.
So vain, I bet you think this song is so bad.
Talk about a song that got everyone gossiping. You're So Vain had the whole world asking, who's so vain? Who's it about? Because the lyrics were sharp and biting, and you could almost see Carly smirking as she sang them. Remember riding in the car when it first hit the radio, Mom leaning over and saying she must really be singing about someone, like we were in on some juicy secret. And for decades, it was one of the biggest mysteries in pop music. Theories flew left and right, Warren Beatty, Mick Jagger, Cat Stevens, you name it. The kicker is that Jagger himself even sang back up on the track, which only made the guessing game wilder. Carly eventually admitted that at least part of it was about Beatty, but not all the verses belonged to him. That mystery, it made the song more than just a hit. It became a cultural guessing game we're all still talking about today. So besides Warren Beatty, who do you think it was about? Get down in the comment section and tell me who. Eagles, Hotel California, 1977.
Them say, welcome to the Hotel California.
Now this one is like checking into a dream and realizing it's more of a nightmare. When the Eagles released Hotel California, people could not stop dissecting the lyrics. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. I mean, wow, it became a line that lodged itself into everyone's mind. I mean, we all had that friend swearing it was about a haunted hotel out in the desert.
You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
And I'm sure other people had a lot of other darker ideas. It was just one of those songs that felt bigger than just a story. It kind of felt like a warning. Pretty quickly, rumors flew that the track was about Satanism, thanks to the spooky imagery of spirits, beasts, and the master. Some people even pointed to the album cover and claimed that you could totally see a shadowy figure watching from the balcony, and that only added fuel to the fire. My sister's in that camp. She even drew a light pencil line around where the ghost person's standing. The band has explained a ton of times that it was really about excess, fame, and how the siren song of California life could just swallow you whole. But once a rumor like that takes off, it's impossible to put it back in the bottle.
We are all just prisoners here of our own device.
But the beauty of Hotel California is, well, one, it's just an incredible song. But more importantly, it works both ways, as a moody story song and as a mirror for the times. In the late 70s, with rock stars living like kings, the lyrics hit as both a celebration and a cautionary tale. And when that iconic guitar solo kicks in, all the theories just melt away because you are swept right into one of the most powerful pieces of music the decade ever gave us. Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, 1971.
And she's buying a stairway to heaven.
Few songs stirred up as much talk as Stairway to Heaven. It already had that mystical feel with Robert Plant's poetic lyrics and Jimmy Page's slow-building guitar line. So people were primed to find something hidden in it. And then came along the big rumor. Play certain sections backward and you would supposedly hear satanic messages. Of course, the truth is the band denied it outright, and sound experts usually chalked it up to coincidence and suggestion. But in the 1970s, with so much fear about subliminal messages in rock, the story spread like the flames of Satan's summer home. Suddenly, church groups were warning parents, and kids were spinning vinyl in reverse just to see if they could catch the hidden words. Whether you believed it or not, it turned a legendary rock track into a cultural lightning rod. What really stands out though is that even without any so-called secret messages, the song already had this air of mystery. Plant's lyrics about rings, whispers, and that stairway to heaven, they already sounded like riddles out of an old storybook, giving fans plenty to chew on, even without the backmasking tales. To this day though, the song feels like more than music. It feels like an experience, one that is both haunting and uplifting at the very same time. Ohio Players, Love Rollercoaster, 1975. Here's a funk classic that picked up one of the wildest rumors of the decade. Love Rollercoaster was already a party starter with that unstoppable groove, but what really got people buzzing was that strange scream buried in the track. Do you remember the first time someone told you about it? Did you know a woman's life was taken during the recording? No, I didn't. And under really sinister circumstances, we all leaned in closer, playing the record back and forth, trying to hear if the scream really sounded like something more sinister. The story spread like wildfire. Some swore it was a model from the album cover. Others claimed it was an accident caught on tape. And the truth, just a legend. The band denied it. They said the scream came from the keyboardist Billy Beck, adding a little extra flair during the sesh. But the rumor was so juicy that for years it actually kind of overshadowed the music itself. You know, when the buzz becomes bigger than the original thing. And what makes this one stick in memory is just how much it reflected the times. The 70s loved a good urban legend, and Love Rollercoaster kept us fed for ages. But back then, funk fans just kept on dancing. But always in the back of your mind, you always wondered, was that scream just part of the performance, or was it something more? It turned a hit single into a campfire story told in living rooms across America. Pink Floyd, Empty Spaces, 1979.
Spaces.
Pink Floyd always had a knack for slipping little surprises into the albums, and Empty Spaces is the perfect example. Tucked into the wall, it sounded like another moody transition at first, but fans with sharp ears discovered a backwards message hidden inside. Remember the guy at college showing you his turntable? When he spun it back and clear as day, there was Roger Waters congratulating you for finding the secret message. It felt like being let in on a private joke from the band itself. But unlike the darker rumors that swirled around Led Zeppelin or Queen about backwards, this one was all in good fun. Waters goes on to say, "Congratulations, you have just discovered the secret message. Please send your answer to Old Pink, care of the Funny Farm." And then another voice cuts him off. Carolyn's on the phone. But the whole thing was just more Monty Python than Satanic Panic. A little big, obvious nod at how worked up people were getting over backmasking at the time. And what I love about it is it shows Pink Floyd's sense of humor behind all that heavy, dramatic music. Here was a band building one of the most ambitious concept albums ever, and they still had time to play around and poke fun at the hysteria of the era. It made the track more than just filler, it made it a treasure hunt for anyone willing to dig a bit deeper. Blue Oyster Cult, Don't Fear the Reaper, 1976. Now here's a song that could spook you and soothe you all at the same time. Don't Fear the Reaper had that hypnotic riff and ghostly vocal that made it just unforgettable. But back then, a ton of people swore it was about unaliving yourself. You get it? It was the perfect storm of a rumor that just stuck to the song like glue. But guitarist Donald Buck Dharma, who actually wrote it, set the record straight. He was actually writing about the inevitability of passing away and how love can outlast it. He had been dealing with health scares at the time, and it got him thinking about mortality, not promoting anything grim. That perspective puts the song in a whole new light. It is less of a dare and more of a meditation. It's funny how a line like 40,000 men and women every day could spark such different interpretations depending on where your head was at. Well, the mystery only added to the track's atmosphere. It became one of those songs you played in the dark with friends, whispering theories about what it really meant. All the while, the cowbell and guitars just carried you away. Hey, we need more cowbell. We do need more cowbell. And even if you didn't buy into the darker rumors, the song had a power that made you pause, reflect, and maybe even appreciate life just a bit more. Derek and the Dominos, Layla, 1971. Few songs pack as much raw emotion as Layla. To most of us back then, it just sounded like Eric Clapton pouring his heart out in a desperate plea for love. But the hidden story behind it made it so much more juicier. He was secretly writing about Patty Boyd, who just happened to be married to his good friend George Harrison at the time. Remember when that little detail finally came out? It was like finding out a favorite soap opera was playing right under your nose the entire time. Eric Clapton was actually inspired by an old Persian tale, Layla and Majnun, about a man driven mad by impossible love. That legend gave the song its name, and Clapton poured all that longing and frustration into the guitar and the words. Suddenly, the wailing guitar solo felt less like a jam and more like a cry from the heart. When you know the backstory, the passion in the performance hits you even harder. It's kind of funny how a hidden muse can change the way you hear a song. For years, folks just sang along without knowing the tangled love triangle that inspired it. And now, every time those opening notes ring out, it's impossible not to think about how real and complicated the feelings of love were behind that song. America, A Horse with No Name, 1972.
You see, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out.
This is one of those songs that instantly takes you somewhere else. A Horse with No Name drifted across the airwaves with that easy desert dry vibe, and suddenly you felt like you were out in the middle of nowhere with the sun beating down. But then people started whispering that it was all more than just a dusty daydream. It was supposedly a secret reference to H, you know, the drug H. I don't know, did you have a buddy in high school saying, "Don't you get it? The horse is H," like he had cracked some secret code? But unfortunately, guy from high school, the truth is a little less scandalous. Dewey, who wrote the song, said it was simply inspired by the deserts he saw as a kid growing up in the States after his time in England.
The desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain.
He wanted to capture that strange beauty of endless sand and sky, and the nameless horse was just a way to move through the story. Yeah, I know, no hidden drug references, just a songwriter painting a picture from his youth. But still, those rumors stuck around for years because the lyrics had that hazy, dreamlike quality that lent themselves to interpretation. And honestly, that is part of what made the track so special. You could make it mean whatever you wanted while swaying along to that hypnotic strum. It was escapism at its finest, whether you thought it was a coded message or just a peaceful ride through the desert. Steve Miller Band, The Joker, 1973.
I'm a joker, I'm a smoker, I'm a midnight toker.
Here's a song that always puts a smile on your face, or at least mine. The Joker is a lighthearted, goofy, and catchy song, and it hides one of the most head-scratching mysteries in rock lyrics. Right in the middle of all that fun, Steve Miller drops the line about the pompatus of love. We didn't know if it was a word, a code, or the latest hip reference we weren't cool enough to know.
'Cause I speak of the pompatus of love.
And for years, people thought Miller had made it up out of thin air. But it turns out he had borrowed it, kind of, from a 1950s doo-wop tune by the Medallions, where the singer used the word puppetoots, and Miller twisted it into pompatus, and the rest is history. The fact that he sang it with so much confidence only made the mystery better, like he knew something the rest of us didn't. That one little word helped give the Joker its charm and kept people talking about it for decades.
'Cause I speak of the pompatus of love, yeah.
But it also showed that sometimes a hidden message isn't dark at all or dangerous, it's actually playful. It's a wink to the past, buried inside something new, a new hit. And whether you were howling along to the wolf whistle or still puzzling over the pompatus, you couldn't help but love the Joker. Steely Dan, Rikki Don't Lose That Number, 1974.
Rikki, don't lose that number. You don't wanna call nobody.
Steely Dan had a way of sounding smooth while sneaking in layers of meaning, and Rikki Don't Lose That Number is a perfect case. On the surface, it's just a catchy tune about someone hanging on to an important phone number. But fans spent years wondering who Rikki really was. And that mystery gave the song this cool, private club feeling. Donald Fagen later admitted that Rikki was Rikki Ducornet, an artist and writer that he knew back in college. He had admired her, slipped her his number, and the whole thing stuck with him long enough to turn it into a pretty great song. It's funny how such a simple encounter could echo out into one of the most recognizable songs of the decade. Suddenly, those lyrics that sounded casual carried a whole lot more weight. That little hidden detail makes the song feel more personal, like you are peeking into a real-life moment that Fagen decided to share in code. In true to Steely Dan fashion, the music itself was so smooth you could dance to it without ever realizing you were humming along to a story from Fagen's past. It's the kind of song that grows more interesting the more you know about it. Elton John, Philadelphia Freedom, 1975. When Philadelphia Freedom hit the airwaves, a lot of folks thought Elton John had written some kind of patriotic anthem. The soaring strings, the title, the way it just felt big. It was easy to imagine it was about the bicentennial spirit brewing in the mid-70s. But the truth is, the song's hidden meaning was something entirely different. Elton John actually wrote it as a tribute to his close friend, tennis legend Billie Jean King. She had a team in World Team Tennis called the Philadelphia Freedoms, and Elton wanted to honor her fight for equality in sports and beyond. Bernie Taupin, Elton's lyricist, didn't write about tennis directly, but the spirit of freedom and breaking barriers is all over the track. Knowing that, the song takes on this whole other layer. It's personal, it's not just patriotic. What I love is how it fooled everyone in the best way. On the surface, it's an anthem for America, but underneath, it's Elton tipping his hat to a friend who was changing the world in her own way. And even now, when the chorus kicks in, it still feels like celebration, whether you're waving a flag, remembering the 70s, or just dancing around the living room. The Doors, Riders on the Storm, 1971.
Riders on the storm.
Alright, this one kinda gives me chills. Riders on the Storm was already haunting with those rolling keyboards and Morrison's whispery delivery, but the real kicker is that hidden vocal track buried underneath. If you listen close enough, Morrison recorded a second, whispered version of the lyrics that shadows the main vocal the entire way through. That ghostly whispering only added to the song's mystique. Morrison had this knack for turning a simple phrase into something that felt otherworldly, and here it was like he was singing from beyond the veil. Given that this was the last song he recorded before his death, yeah, I know, chills. The whispers almost sound like a farewell message tucked inside.
On you depends, our life will never end. Gotta love you.
It's eerie, but in a way that makes you lean closer instead of turning away. What's incredible is how it all comes together. The storm sound effects, the jazz-inspired keyboards, and Morrison's layered voice creating an atmosphere no other band could touch. It wasn't just a song you heard, it was a mood that wrapped around you. And to this day, that hidden whisper makes Riders on the Storm one of rock's most unforgettable mysteries. AC/DC, Highway to Hell, 1979. You couldn't escape this one when it hit the radio. Highway to Hell blasted out of every car window, jukebox, and backyard speaker, and man did it ruffle some feathers. Parents and preachers were convinced it was some sort of invitation to the dark side, while for many of us it just sounded like pure rock and roll freedom. The funny part is, the meaning was a whole lot more down to earth than people thought. Scott was singing about the grind of endless touring, the long nights, the partying, the sense that the road itself was just chewing you up. The title came from Canning Highway back in Australia, a stretch that led right to one of their favorite pubs. I just love that. So yeah, nothing spooky about it, just a band telling it like it was, going to grab a pint. But the controversy only made it more irresistible. The more adults wagged their fingers about it, the louder we wanted to crank it up. And honestly, that's the beauty of AC/DC. Simple, loud, and fun. The kind of song that made you feel like you were barreling down life's highway with your foot glued to the gas. Alright, that's enough from me. Now we're gonna hear from you. Because those songs remind us that the 70s weren't just about great music, they were about the stories, the rumors, and the mysteries that kept us all listening a bit closer. From supposed backmasking to secret muses, half the fun was debating what we thought we heard. So please get down in the comments section and tell me, did you ever flip a record backward or argue with friends about who a song was really about? And were any of these stories new? And finally, did I miss a song from the past that had a hidden message within? Well, get down in the comments section and tell me all about it. I could always make a round 2. Share your memories and theories in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next trip back. But most importantly, from my entire team here at Do You Remember, I'm Nostalgic Nick, signing off, because sometimes the best part of a song isn't the chorus, it's the secrets hiding between the grooves.